Okay, for this video, we're going to cover monorepos, and we're going to use the TypeScript class by Mike North as a reference. And this monorepo class covers the basics on how to set up a project. And the important part is, as we go through this process, you get a sense of what the error messages are and what the process is versus just going to a YouTube video or a blog post that just talks about monorepos, which doesn't give you any debug experience. This will become increasingly important over the next couple of weeks as we ramp up the complexity to go into the Apache superset monorepo code. And you won't be able, it's difficult to understand what the structure is and how to debug and where to look when there are errors as we start to add source code. So we're going to break this up into 4 separate demos, and I'll post a GitHub with the modifications of what it takes to pass the checkpoints. And so the first checkpoint that we're going to
Now,
cover
we're going to get a little more creative here.
is how to
By the way, if you feel like you're falling behind,
get the testing or jest working. And so we're going to cover up to yarn 2, and this is covering adding tests with jests and Babel. And so there are 2 subdirectories that we copy over from his code under types and utils. And what the monorepo does is this particular setup uses packages as the directory where the monorepo will look, and the monorepo will cover these 2 quote unquote subdirectories, and it will attempt to stitch together the things that are common between these 2, and then you will be able to use the resources that these 2 subdirectories define in other projects. And so the first step is to get each one of these directories working with jest. And so in his video, first he goes to types and he runs yarn jest. And this should work, but it doesn't. So let's do yarn build and yarn install. So when you download from GitHub, it doesn't preserve node modules deliberately so that we can go through this process. Okay, now we can run yarn jest. And it works. Now let's go to utils. So let's do a yarn build. Sorry, a yarn install. And then a yarn jest. Okay, so this works, and this covers the first checkpoint. Then the next checkpoint we're going to cover is how to get the linting process to work. And so we're going to combine the linting demo with lerna. I'm sorry, no, we're not going to do that. So let's just do linting first before we go to lerna. So let's do this. Let's do the second checkpoint. That's going to confuse everybody if we do lerna. Okay, git EC2 types. So let's do, instead of jest, we're going to use lint. So let's do a install first. And then we're going to do yarn lint. And it should show, if the linter runs correctly, it should show no errors. And then we're going to try to duplicate this no error message under types also. Okay, so this is correct. In the video, he does cover a modification to the source code under utils. He deliberately introduces an error. So we fixed that. We're not going to demo that. That's already covered in the video, and that runs without any problems. Okay, so for the third checkpoint, now that we have the linter and the test working, we're going to go up a level. And specifically, we're going to go up above packages, and we're going to use lerna to run the linting and test commands. And we're also going to add scripty and to remove the executables from the package.json files or the executable command lines. And so that's something that we would test, we would normally run in the CLI. And so this is important because instead of using scripty, Apache Superset uses TypeScript command or TypeScript programs to deal with the complexity. This is how it seems like most open source programs are set up that way, instead of using scripty. Okay, so let's check out the third checkpoint and see how to get that to work. Okay, let's go up a level. Let's get a better look where we are. Okay, so this works because this has already been debugged, but let's start off with a yarn install first. Let's run test next. Okay, so this looks like it works. You may get an error which requires these three files to be replaced. And so these three files have already been fixed and they've been copied into node modules. So I'm not sure if this makes sense for us to do it on video, but on a fresh install, you'll get some TypeScript errors. And he does that, he covers that in his video, but they're different files. So the thing I wanted to demonstrate on this video is that those errors are a little bit different with the setup that we have today. I think some of the packages may have drifted in versions causing this error. Okay, so for the fourth and last checkpoint, we're going to cover how to use commitlint. And commitlint requires a certain structure for commit messages. And the reason for that is they use that to maintain consistency in the change log. So every open source project, including Apache Superset, has a changelog.md, which is consistent across the life cycle of the project, and they use commitlint to verify that. Now, Apache Superset also has a commitlint functionality, and I don't know whether or not they use the same installation or open source code, but they have that same functionality. You can see that in their shell scripts. Okay, so let's go to the final checkpoint. Let's run the command to do commitlint. Okay, this failed. This is perfect. So we did that deliberately to show how we have to do the yarn install first. Okay, now let's run that. And we'll see that this runs correctly. And the issue is that you have to format the commit message in a certain way. Now, this is different than what you showed it in the video. And so this is updated. And so I hope that helps. And next week, we'll do more videos on how to update this to get closer to Apache Superset.